It's Sunrice from University College London. Come out and show the world how you're gonna radically improve the rice market.
What do these numbers mean to you? $83 million total profit Sunrice generates. 15 billion extra bowls of rice, the energy of which Sunrice harnesses. And 49 million lives transformed by 2025. We first thought that we would help smallholder farmers dry their rice better and make just a small dent in the universe. But then, we realized we could have so much more impact if we added just one more step. And so we pivoted. Harnessing the energy of the sun, rice seeds are grown and harvested as wet paddy twice a year. It then needs to be dried and stored. But for rice to be ready for your table, it also needs to be milled. However, smallholder farmers use traditional sun-drying practices that cause up to 20% grain loss, valued at $45 billion every year. This loss means that farmers make barely enough to put food on the table and require multiple cycles of debt for something as simple as sending their kids to school. This happens because there is a power imbalance within the rice supply chain. Farmers only get a tiny fraction of the value of their rice because prices are dictated by those that come next in the supply chain. Big millers. Millers wield absolute power over the price of rice during harvest because farmers need money instantly to pay off the debts that allowed them to grow rice in the first place. The amount of farmers affected by this in Southeast Asia is a staggering 70 million, with 2.8 in Myanmar, our target region alone. So Sunrice will change this by bringing a sustainable, standardized, dry and store, zero cost to the farmer solution that is easy to adopt and scale. We aim to democratize the rice supply chain. And here's how it works. Farmers bring their wet paddy to us during harvest. We dry their rice with our biomass dryer, a proven dryer that 80% of farmers in Myanmar don't have access to because of a high capital cost. After drying, we will store the rice for about 2 months. Then, Sunrice will sell the rice off-season for the best prices on behalf of the farmer, who now doesn't have to face a big miller alone. Without Sunrice, at best, a farmer would earn about $160 to $170 a ton, taking home about $42 of that. But with Sunrice, he'll earn about $210 and double the amount he takes home, $84. But we also pay farmers 10% upfront during harvest so they can cover their living costs. And actually, upon sale, Sunrice sells it at $250, but we give 85% to the farmer. That's the $210, and Sunrice takes the remaining 15% to plow back to our operations and scale. Every Sunrice hub is able to process 1,000 tons of rice, perfect for one village, with a revenue of $375,000, gross profit of $43,000, and a 5-month payback period.
With Sunrice, farmers are able to increase their yield and quality of rice, whilst doubling their income and drying their rice 24 times faster. And on top of this, we're leveraging waste in the existing rice ecosystem. We're using rice husks, a byproduct from the milling stage, and using them as fuel for our dryers. Right now, they're just being thrown away in garbage dumps and let to rot. The environmental impact from this is tremendous. Instead, we harness this energy and use it to dry our rice. In the process, we save millions of tons of rice that would have otherwise been lost for traditional drying practices. And on top of this, we already have 23 farmers ready to use our service. That's 500 tons of their rice that's ready to be dried next week. On top of this, we'll be leveraging influencer farmers in the villages. We're putting our Sunrice hubs in land that we lease from him and paying him a service fee on top of this. What's more is that we want to scale our impact immensely. That's why we're going to be working closely with township officials, which the villages are located in, so that we can scale our impact from township to village to farmer. And on top of this, the International Rice Research Institute, our partners, have already identified these township officials. In fact, we have 6 more villages ready to go to adopt our Sunrice hubs. That's 300 more farmers and 6,000 more tons of rice already in our pipeline. And with $600,000, we would have been able to install over 14 hubs in the very first harvest. That translates to over 3,000 hubs, generating over $83 million in profit by 2025. And what exactly is the impact of all this? Not only are we doubling the income of farmers, we're drying their rice 24 times faster while saving immense amounts of rice that totals up to 15 billion bowls of rice that's now saved by us. And in return, we're transforming the lives of 49 million people by 2025.
Time. Thank you. Great job, Sunrice. Who's going to start us off with the judging? Hans.
So just my understanding, who's going to operate these mills? And what are they your own employees? How are you going to manage all that?
So for our dryers, for the maintenance, we'll be paying a 10% fee to Pioneer Agribase, who is our manufacturer. And we'll be employing 1 or 2 labor to unload and load the rice on the dryers.
Okay, Ibrahim.
Who carries the transportation cost of bringing all the rice from faraway farms, plus the rice husk? What percentage of each truck has husk and rice in it?
So for the rice, it will be transported by the farmers themselves, because currently the farmers are the ones transporting the rice to the millers from the paddy field. And for the rice husk, we have already contacted the millers who will be delivering it to us.
Kathleen.
Hi. Myanmar has exceedingly low carbon emissions, and you run these machines with diesel. Can you sort of explain the carbon equation so that if you moved next door to India, for example, where burning diesel is becoming sort of something we can't do anymore, how that would all work?
So the reason why we're currently using diesel, it's because it makes economical sense. So we have looked into renewable sources, such as the solar panels, but to generate a motor of 10 horsepower, we would need 10 solar panels. And we also looked into biofuels, but buying those gasification machines cost about 3 times more than the dryers. So diesel is our best bet.
Taylor.
And guys, that was really great. Seeing you grow has been really amazing. Have you ever thought of doing a Sunrice consumer brand? I think the market would love this, and you could capture higher margins than your current ops.
Yes, we have looked into that, and that's what Ahmad proposed to us, proposing the Sunrice rice, which is fair and traded fairly, and making sure that the farmers are being paid what they deserve.
Bill.
What do you plan to do with the rice husk ash?
So with the rice husk ash, it's a good source of potassium, so we use it for fertilizers. That means we can also give it back to the farmers.
G2.
Does your gross margin concern you?
Gross margin?
Does it concern you? It seems like it's excessively low.
Yeah, so thank you for the question. So our gross profit margin is around 11%, but even with that quite low margin, it's pretty realistic as a very fixed asset heavy company. And with that low margin, we are able to achieve 83 million profits by 2025. So we are not very concerned about the gross margin because we are using part of this margin to impact farmers to double their income instead.
Dr. Kende.
I was going to ask you about the ash, but that's already asked. Repairs and maintenance. I have one similar gasifier in my village in Africa. Well, how do you deal with repairs and maintenance and training people to operate your dryer?
All right. Thank you for the question. So as Julia mentioned earlier, we already contacted our manufacturer, Pioneer Agrobreeze. They will be maintaining the dryers on our behalf as well. And for training the laborers, they will also be providing training for close to 2 weeks and make sure that all these laborers are well trained before they start operating the dryers themselves.
Hans?
As it is shared asset, then you think about utilization, how maximize the asset. What type of utilization have you thought about in this dryer? How much is going to be used?
So we know that for these dryers, we're just currently using it for rice, which is 2 harvests per year. So that's about 4 months per year. But we know that these dryers can also dry other grains such as coffee beans, maize, peanuts. And actually in Myanmar, the government is pushing for the farmers to grow peanuts in between these rice harvests because it brings them, it has a higher margin. And it has just been said recently.
Very good answer.
Ambassador Thompson.
I'd like to get a sense of what kind of contractual arrangements you're going to use with the farmers in order to guarantee supply and throughput.
So for the contracts, we will be laying the contracts that we're.
Sorry,
Take a deep
I'll reply
breath.
on behalf of my colleague. So how it works is, this is why the influencer farmer is key. Because all the farmers already look up to him, and he's normally considered an early adopter in bringing technology in. So how we did it in our first village is that he would be the ones to pitch kind of on our behalf to the farmers, and they sort of told him,
Time.
okay.
Thank you guys. Give it up for Sunrice. So 5 down, 1 to go. And of course, after our